Hello, welcome to video 4, the Jam Breakdown for January 2016. This is the bonus part 2. So let's see, in our last video we covered adding music, adding sound options, and then music options for toggling them on and off. Now the first video I used a different version of my recording software and I was not happy with the crackling. I went back to the old version. But in order to compensate for that, I went into the editor and I actually mass edited all of my audio files, dropped their volume down to 0.01, that way they will play under the microphone. Now, this points out a good reason to have controllable volume inside your game, because you never know, maybe you will have people who want to stream it and they will need to adjust the volume so that way it doesn't overpower the microphone. I actually see this come up often in the forums when I was reading to try to fix this issue, so it's a good thing to consider, adding a controllable volume control. So, what are we going to do this time? We have less waves, let the player know the game's not endless, I've already recorded the audio for that, and then enemies that can be killed. Let's start with the two easy ones, less waves at the end. Well, this one's pretty simple because of the way it was designed. If we go into our spawn manager, we can see our spawn points and our waves. Let's go to our last wave. That's one that's got an issue. Here's our number of waves. We currently have it set to 6. Let's go ahead and just drop this down in half to 3. And that's it. That's all we need to do. Now instead of having 6 waves over basically 2.5 minutes, we're going to have 3 waves. So we're good to go there. Our next fix, so let's cross that off. See, it's nice to have everything modular. Is going to be let the player know the game is not endless, but fixed wave amounts. So I went ahead and recorded this small audio. I'm going to go ahead and play this right now.
Attention customers.
And
the stores will be closing in 5 minutes. Please locate the closest exit at this time and have a good day.
Okay, so the audio should be done playing now. And we're going to go ahead and use this audio to determine, to give the player basically a little hint at the beginning of the game to let them know that it's not an endless game. So if we go ahead and edit the audio clip, well, let's try that, not editing. We'll look at it. We'll see we have a duration of 11.14 seconds. So let's round that up. Let's change our intro delay to 15 seconds while this audio clip plays. And then let the player basically play a few seconds after it stops. So now we have to figure out what we did. Well, we have blueprints. Let's undo my filter. And we're going to try to find our intro manager. Here we go. Now we're going to need to adjust a few things. We're adding an extra 12 seconds in here, basically. So we're going to need to delay our button being large by another 12. Well, let's see. We currently have the button. Oh no, this is the intro. Okay, well let's actually not edit the intro because that's not what we wanted. We want the main map. Okay, that was extremely silly that I was going to edit the wrong thing. Let's see. This is also a good reason to start setting up things in an organized fashion. Maybe you have one place. Maybe you have a level manager that handles all the startup and initialization for the level. Right now, I technically have it in multiple places. So somewhere in here, I have a delay. I'm going to guess maybe the spawn manager. Let's check. Event graph. There we go. Let's see, starter spawning event. And yeah, 5 seconds before starting. So this one gives our player the control. See, in our spawn manager, which is only really supposed to control our spawning, we're actually controlling the startup of the game. So this is a bad place to have it. You saw it just took me time to find it. We really should have had this in a separate place. And the level manager should control when things start up, the flow of the level. So this currently waits 5 seconds, but we're going to need to leave at least 12. So let's go ahead and change this to waiting 15. This will give us time to play the 12-second audio clip and then the rest. So we already have it here. Unfortunately, we're going to have to put it in here. We just need it to play a sound, so this should be pretty simple. We'll go ahead and play sound 2D. We're going to go ahead and set up our stores are closing sound, and that's going to be it. Now here's one of those issues, because we're using a funky way of recording our sound. We want to get our game state, we want to get our sound. Oops, let's see, oh, we have to cast it, don't we? Yep, we have to cast it. We can turn this into a pure, and we'll get our sound volume, and we'll plug that in over here to our volume multiplier. Okay, so now this should at least honor if we have our sound turned on and off. It may or may not work. This is what we might need to debug, because we kind of did this again ass backwards. A sound manager in the game should handle this. We should actually request that our sound manager play this sound, and then the sound manager itself handles everything. It'll know if we have sound on or off. It'll know the volume. So it should have taken control of all this. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if that worked. So we're going to go ahead, and I actually have headphones set up now so I can hear this without having to guess. We're going to start up and see if it works.
Attention customers. The stores will be closed.
So right now I am hearing the sound.
Please locate the closest exit at this time and have a good day.
And it should be done, and then this right here should disappear, and then the game itself should start up. Okay, so that seems like it worked out perfectly. Should I have text here? That is a very good question. Right now, instead of making something universal, whereas for example I have my HUD layout, let's pull our HUD layout, and having text here that will automatically conform, that way I can make sure different screen sizes still have a place here for subtitles. I went ahead and created something really quickly and dirty, and that's what our wavespawn text is. And our wavespawn text is a text block down here that's added up only when we do wavespawning. So technically what I would have to do is create a whole new wave something here and have it show up and have it disappear and add it in. So well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do that really quickly. This shouldn't take too long. This will be the stores closing text. This is not the way of doing it properly, but this is the way we're doing it because we are doing it improperly. And this giant spawn message we do not need, so we can get rid of that. Text to show which floor string we don't need. So the only thing we need here is our text to show variable. And all we're going to do is make sure that's bound to our text to show. Okay, so this should be pretty simple. We're going to go into our blueprint, into our spawner. We have this right here. Let's go ahead and turn this all into a function, which is going to be play store closing sound. Play store closing message. We'll go with play store counting message. We'll go back to here. We're going to pull this out. And we'll put this in here, assuming I can paste it in there. There we go. And what we're going to do is we'll have this little function handle everything. That way this only has to do the play store sound. Or play store closing message. We can clean it up a little bit. Because now that we're going to play our text as well, we're going to need to try to keep things as clean as possible. Okay, so play store closing message. This is going to play the sound. We're going to create our widget. Well, we're going to run into an issue here, but I will go ahead and handle it a really stupid way as well. So we are going to create our store closing text widget. We are going to promote it to a variable. We'll go ahead, because unfortunately I'm going to have to do it this way, and we'll call this one store closing widget. We'll go ahead and add it to our viewport. And then what we need to do is set the text. So what we can do here to make this easier, so that way we don't have to actually get the text object, is we will go into our blueprint for the store closing text. We're going to find our text to show. We're going to expose this on the spawn. And now when we go back in here, we have text to show. And this is going to be basically the text that I just recorded. So since I can't remember what I just recorded, let's go ahead and play this back.
Attention customers. The stores will be closing in 5 minutes.
Attention customers, the stores will be closing in 5 minutes. Attention customers, stores will be closing in 5 minutes. And unfortunately now I gotta play through it again because I wasn't able to hear it all.
Attention customers. The stores will be closing in 5 minutes. Please locate the closest exit at this time and have a good day.
Okay, the closest exit at this time. Have a good day. Okay, so in theory, when this spawns, it should go ahead and create this widget, and it should display it with the text that we've chosen on the bottom of the screen. I don't know how it's going to look because I haven't fitted it yet, but that's because we're doing this the backwards way. And that should be it. Now here's the problem. Normally I would delay this 12 seconds or so because it's going to show for 12 seconds and then I go and remove it from the screen. But because we are in a function, delay nodes do not work. You cannot create a delay inside of here. So that's not really going to work. So what we need to do is we're just going to go ahead. This is why we saved it. We're going to go ahead and take our widget and we're just going to remove from parent like so, and we'll go and just leave it like that. And it's quick and dirty because we're not doing this the right way, but we're trying to get this done, everything within an hour. So let's see what happens.
Attention customer.
Woo, look at that.
The stores will be
that
closing
is
in
definitely not wrapping properly. So let's actually do this a testing way. We'll copy our text out. And actually now I realize it, since our text isn't even changing. Wow, that was really silly. So, yeah. Again, iterating through stuff. I realize that now that we are actually doing this in here, I don't actually need to bind this. I can just simply have it displayed. So, what do we want to do here? We're going to have it centered. We're going to have auto wrap turned on. And we need to make sure that it is not set size to context. Let's aim for about 1,000, and let's aim for right about there, about 150. And okay, let's try that. Let's see what happens.
Attention
there we go.
Customers. The stores will be closing.
Okay, so we have our text displayed. We have a little bit of word. It should disappear as soon as it's done.
And have a good day.
And there we go. All our text disappears. And our gameplay should be working like normal. Oh, and they're getting away from me. There we go. Let's see if we can get the last one to make sure. Okay, so there we go. This was not, again, the best way of doing it. We're jamming stuff in really quickly. This is technically going to be like our Sunday or our last day. And all we're trying to do is make stuff work. I'm trying to show the basic workflow that I would have gone through. Now here's our big one. Enemies that can kill the player. So, let's see. I thought about this for a little bit. And if we had everything in our base enemy class, like we should have done, then this wouldn't be too difficult. The problem is we didn't do things properly. So what we're going to do is just take our first male type 1 and we're going to duplicate him and we're going to set it up where he can destroy our player. And we're just going to give him a little bit different AI, which most of it's already programmed because we stored our player when we did the blackboard, so this shouldn't be too hard. It's going to duplicate resources, but we're going to make this work. So let's go ahead and let's set up a new folder, and we'll call this enemy type 1. And then let's take our male type 1, and we're going to copy all of our stuff into our enemy type 1. We're going to try to copy everything. Let's see, did that not work? Oh, but duh. Mail type 1, drag, drop, and copy here. There we go. Gotta let the editor do it. Okay, let's go and rename these. We'll do enemy type 1. This one's gonna be enemy type 1 blueprint. And then our enemy type 1 blend space, which most of these we don't even need anymore because we're using the universal one. But again, this is a throwback to me not setting up properly without a proper setup. In terms of the other things, the shaders and all that, we don't have to worry about that. Actually, technically, we are going to have to worry about the shader. We need to make our character look different. So one of the first things we're going to want to do is make him look different. Let's open up our map, open up our test map. Go ahead and save everything. Go ahead and tab out for a short bit, let it save, and let it compile the shaders. One thing, if you did not know, if you tab out of Unreal Engine, it's going to start performing in a low performance mode, which means less resources are given to Unreal, which means your shader compiler, which is actually a separate program, will run quicker. Okay, so here's our test map. This is our standard enemy, which I have no light, so that really does not work. Let's go and move him. Oh. Seriously, do I have like no light in the scene? Oh, it's backwards. Okay. I just need someone to compare. Okay, so there we go. So there and there, and we have our enemy. Let's go ahead and drop him in here, rotate him, and we need a way to make them distinct. So what I was thinking is we'll take and just slightly alter the materials we're using for the character. Well, this shouldn't be too hard. So let's take the texture sample. Let's put this into a multiply node. Let's make a solid color and put it into our B and put this into our base. Now we should immediately get nothing for our base texture because we're multiplying it by the black. Let it compile, finish up. But what we're going to do is we're going to change that to a red, and that should give us a red tint to the clothing, which is what we're aiming for. So let's go with a light red like that and hit apply. Now let's see what we get back out of here. Just something so you can slightly tell the difference. If I had more time, I would do something maybe like you could do a panner effect in here based on the time, and you can have it flash red where it goes from red to white. But that's not what we're aiming for. So this is our enemy player, and we need to have him use, let's rename that to make it easier, enemy top mat. There we go. So this is our enemy player, and he's going to use the enemy top mat like that. There we go. Now he's got a purple shirt. Oh crud. Did I really? Oh crud. See, this is one of those weird issues you run into because I'm not using unique textures for everybody. So I have a feeling that my male type 1 top material, let's look at it. He's using the male type 1 top mat. My enemy type 1, let's find my enemy type 1. Here we go. And this is my enemy type 1. He should be using my enemy top mat. Like so. Oh. Well, this is pretty simple. So I copied everything over and I renamed everything. But the thing is, my character right here, hopefully you figure this out, is using our male type 1 skeletal mesh. He's not using my enemy type 1 that I've set up for him. So now, there we go. We have a purple shirted enemy using the correct model here. So if we take our bottom mat and we'll do the same thing. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Even if you duplicate, it's still going to have references to the original things. So even though my textures and my models and my materials have all duplicated, my actual original character here, which has a mesh, was set to the original skeletal type. So that's why we went ahead and we changed that. And let's make these reddish again. Pop this in here to our base color, apply it, save it, let it compile. Find our enemy, which is going to be as soon as this finishes saving. There we go. So find our enemy here. We're going to edit our enemy type 1, change his bottom. Oops, of course, I did not rename that. We'll just leave that. As you know, you can have things named the same in the game. The difference being it's going to go based on the folder itself. Like you can see, it has a different path. Because it has a different path, it has a different actual internal ID. So that's something to keep in mind. But renaming things would probably be a lot smarter because it'll lead to less confusion for other people. So we're just going to go with that. Our enemy is our red guy, and our regular guy is not that. So any code we want to do is going to go into our character itself, and it's going to go into the tree that we have in here. Now this is our any damage. We're not going to want this person to die when they attack our player. For whatever reason, they're invulnerable to the blades. I should actually rephrase that. We are going to want them to die if they get shot, though. So, that's something we're going to have to figure out here. Okay, we'll have to figure it out when we get into the gameplay part. We're going to make it where they do not die from the blades. But we do want this character to have a different AI type. So let's save all of our stuff to clean up a little bit. And we need to determine when we spawn this enemy, which AI they are going to spawn with. Now our spawners is what controls this. If we go into our spawner, and we go right here, you can see we're spawning an enemy AI using the enemy behavior tree. If we go into our enemy behavior tree, we're going to find this is our code that we're using. So my plan is, if this is off the top of my head, but what I'm thinking is, in here, this is our check for fleeing service. Rather than have it flee, and that's right here, it's going to get all of our exits, it's going to flee, it's going to set those values, and it's going to go. If we were to change this, instead of getting our exit to getting our player, and then setting our values like this, and change it from is fleeing to is attacking, what we're going to end up with is down here, is fleeing, and then go to the target exit. We change this to is attacking, and we can have it actually do the same thing, get to the player, and then when it gets to the player, we can have it attack the player and destroy the player. So, this is one of those annoying things. So, what we need to do is we need a way to randomly get an enemy. That's going to be our first issue here. So let's go into our spawn manager, and let's clean this up just because we don't need that much text showing on our screen at one time. Let us, how are we going to do this? Our spawn manager has our start spawning code, which is our spawn wave, which determines what we're spawning, where we're spawning, and things like that. So spawn wave is right here, and this is what's going to determine what we're going to spawn inside of our BP spawner. I'm thinking if we go into our spawn manager itself, let's set up let's just have a random chance for the enemy to spawn. You know what? Any of them could be a random chance for the enemy. Let's just have that. Let's not make this too difficult here. So when we are spawning an enemy, right here, the spawn from AI class, let's do a check on this one. This is the random enemy for here, so what we're going to need to do is change it right here. Let's go and move this out of the way. And what we're going to need, whoop, I messed up. Node, there we go. I think we can move, yeah, you can move, use arrows to move. I always forget that. Using the arrows can move things left, right, up, and down. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a if check. And what we're going to do is it's based on a random. So we'll do a random integer in range. And we'll give this 10% chance. We'll go with a 10% chance. So we'll go 0 to 9 on here. And we'll do an if. Whoops, not if. Yeah, we need an if to, no, not if, greater than. Greater than, we'll go with equal. Yeah, Yeah, we'll just go with equal integer. And we'll do a 0. So if between 0 and 9 we get a 0, then we're going to go ahead, let's make this a 9. We'll make it the top of the range. We're going to go ahead and choose to spawn one of our enemies. So if we hook this into false, right here, and unhook true, nothing should change for 0 through 9. We should get a normal enemy. What we need to do is we need to change our true. So we're going to pawn class. Let's see. So we're going to need to spawn an AI. So let's move our entire blueprint. Okay, seriously. Let's move our entire thing down so we have room. We'll move our work area up. And we'll start here. Okay, so this right here and here is going to be our false course. Seriously, I hate when there's floating nodes that I just can't select. There we go. We'll leave this down here. This will be our false. So our true is going to be this. Now, this should be pretty simple. We're going to have an enemy character for that type. It's going to be the enemy behavior tree. And you know what? Let's just, again, make this super simple. You know what? I don't really want to spend time doing things a long way. So we're going to call this enemy, we're going to call this attack enemy behavior tree. And we're going to rename this one to attack enemy blackboard. So our attack enemy behavior tree, we will modify, and then our attack enemy blackboard is going to have is attacking, and that should be it. We only need to change that for the, there we go. Okay, so that's there, and our attack enemy, and we need to make sure our attack enemy blackboard set. Okay, so we'll go back to our spawner. Okay, so we're going to want to spawn. Now, where are we going to spawn it at? Well, this is our existing spawn transform, so we're good there. Our location and rotation. We can copy that. What else do we need? We need the pawn class, which we've already set up, and our behavior tree, and we are done. So, this is the rest of the code that we can just connect back into. So actually, since we're going to spawn one with its own behavior and we know it's going to be bad, this is a lot simpler than I thought I was going to end up being. So let's move this up here. Yeah, so sometimes, especially when you're in a rush like this, having something robust and future-proof is nice, but it can lead to delays, and it can lead to overthinking your code. Simply getting stuff done, especially for a jam, is kind of important since you're on a time limit. So there we go. So in theory here, if it rolls our 9, we're going to spawn a enemy character using the enemy behavior tree. And if it spawns a 0 through 8, we're going to spawn a normal enemy. And all this other code should work perfectly fine. So there we go. Okay. So let's modify what happens when we have an enemy character spawning. We have our enemy blackboard and our enemy behavior tree. So our enemy behavior tree is going to determine what we're going to do. So we do not want our check for fleeing service. We're going to reduplicate this, and this is going to be a check for attacking service. They're going to be very similar, but we're going to go ahead and make it where this one's just slightly customized for our attack. And let's run through it, and look, our handy dandy comments help. We don't need to change our references. Here we go. We need to get all of our exit BPs. No, we don't. What we need to do is we need to get our player. So get all actors of class, which that's funny. Actually, I already had this here. So let's try that again. Get all actors of class, and we have our Zila character. Here we go. So this should get any of our players in the game. And of course, this will fail because when you create this, your output is going to be of type the correct output. So right now, my output is a Zila character reference for this array. Previously, everything hooked up was expecting a BP exit array type. So we're just going to go ahead. And if you notice, all I had to do was refix it and it'll work. Now this again was an array expecting something else. See how it says BP exit? That's not what we want. And the nice thing is we actually don't need any of our randomness. We just need to get our first one and plug it in to the appropriate spots. Like that. So now we should not get all exit bpaste, get all of our players. Now if you're doing multiplayer, obviously you'd have to adjust for this, but this is a quick and dirty, simple single player. So now we get all of our players. We get the first one because there's only one, which is at index 0. We assign that as our target object, we assign that as our target location, and we assign that as is fleeing, which obviously that is the incorrect key. So we actually need to promote this to a variable and delete our is fleeing and change this to is attacking. And now we have the correct key. Now if we go back here, what we're going to do next is check our Blackboard condition. Is set, is attacking. Correct. So if it is attacking, which we've set in the previous one, then we're going to go ahead and run our next one, which is going to be flee task. Well, we don't want to flee, but we want to copy most of the code, so let's change this to attack task. Attack task. That's really annoying to say. So here we go. Here's our attack task. Same basic should work. AI controller references are already stored and set up. We have an AI move to. Now, you have a few different options on the AI move to. The pawn is obviously who we're moving, but the destination and the target actor, one of the two needs to be plugged in. We were using the destination because our target exit, it never moved. What we actually need to do is get the target object, and we're going to get value as object. And this is our player itself, and we plug that into our, of course, actor. Give me a second. This should have worked. Seriously, target object is a Blackboard key? Yes. Seriously? Oops, not set target object. Okay, so seriously. Oh, no. Duh. This is a Blackboard. Okay, yeah, that would be me doing this wrong. Okay. Let's see. Blackboard value as object. Oh, that's a set. Okay, give me half a second because my brain shut down. When I originally did this, I copied it from the Unreal Engine documents on how to do this, and this is going to be our task for attacking. And okay, yeah, so that was silly. So there's a Blackboard value as actor. That's what I meant to do, not object, and then we plug it in. That was extremely silly. See, when you do, that's why when you drag off, probably should have read them all, and if I had scrolled up, I would have noticed there was an actor. Okay, so this is going to get the actor that I've set as the object. And in our behavior tree up here, we've gone ahead and stored our actor as the object, our player character. So this is going to give us an actor to go for. Now the nice thing about this is, let's change our acceptance ratings to 10, just to give us a little bit more room. And I'll probably need to do more of that, but we'll go with that. What this is nice is this is going to look for the player even if they're moving. So that's the good part about target actor. So here we have our next one. Survivor escaped. If they successfully got to our player, what do we want to do? Well, we're not going to worry about the survivor escaping. We're going to attack the player. And then we're not going to destroy the actor, and we are going to finish executing. And then if they failed, what we're going to do is we need to set is attacking. So is attacking. We need to set this back to false, so that way they will try to find our player again. Let's go back into here. Let's make sure that we have is attacking correct, which I don't believe I have saved it. Yep, see, this is still wrong. Oh, no, this is our check for fleeing service. Here we go. This is what I meant to do. This is our behavior tree, which is checking our... Oh, because we have... Oh, duh. Okay, so our is attacking in here. This one is wrong. We need to change this right here. Our task is wrong. And there we go. Attack task. That makes more sense. I was using the old fleeing task is what it was. And then we need to add a decorator for the Blackboard base condition. And is attacking is set. I hate moving these things. There we go. Let's double check on our flee. Oops. There we go. Okay. So we want it to abort if is fleeing is not set. That's what I forgot to do. So our abort condition is both right there. There we go. No, abort self. Abort self. Yeah, because there's nothing above us. I mean, nothing below us. Okay. So this should be good. I just basically copied and pasted. Okay. So let's go back to our thing that I forgot what I was doing. Oh, attack task. Okay. So everything should be the same. So now we need some way for our player to kill our pawn. So what do we do? Well, before we were... Okay, so if it gets to the target and it gets to the controller, we should just probably do something really simple, like instead of applying damage, but just basically say that we destroy it. So let's find our interface. Let's find our player interface. So, do we tell the controller that we destroyed the player, or do we tell the character that we destroyed them? Well, okay, let's keep things consistent. What we're going to do is we're going to look at our flee task. We're going to call survivor escaped on the game state. Yeah, why don't we do the same thing? You know what? We don't need to let the player know that they were destroyed. We can just let the game state know. We'll keep things simple. So we'll go to our game state, and we will go to our interface for our game state. And we will find that. And what we're going to do is we'll call a new one, and we'll do player was, we'll call it player was attacked. Make it simple. And we'll call that on the game state, and we will set this up really quickly here. And we will find our event graph. We'll go to player was attacked. And we'll just do the simple, and we'll do a print string. This should look really funky because we haven't done anything yet. Player died. But we are going to simple and test this. Okay, so we'll get our game state, and we will do player was attacked. This is a case of I probably shouldn't have deleted this section until I knew what I was doing, because as you notice, this new section is pretty much identical, just with a different interface function that we're calling. Let the game state know the player was attacked. Okay. So in theory, which is one of my favorite statements to use because half of the programming is just guessing, we should have a player spawn at some point. I don't even know if this is going to do anything. It should crash, which is always fun. Let's see. Oh, look, my little guys are over here. Yeah, my test map really does not work properly anyways. Okay, so in theory, if we were to open up our mall map, and that's the startup map, and run the mall map, we should have a 1 in 10 chance of having an enemy spawn. Now, for our purposes of testing, that's not going to work very well. So what we want to do is in our spawner, where we have our 1 in 10 chance here, we are going to change this. We're going to do this greater or equal. Actually, shoot, greater and equal. We'll just have it every one. And that was an integer, so that's not really going to work. Okay, let's just drag off of here, make it easier. Greater than equal to. Always make sure you use the right one. There we go. Greater than equal to 0 should, in theory, spawn one of our bad guys. Let's see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and play. I'm going to shut off the sound for this, which I don't even know if it's off or not. It sounds like it's not off. I don't think I toggled it properly. But it's not a big deal. It should be low enough. So if our players spawn, our enemies spawn, in theory, they will attack our player if we're lucky.
Bing bong. Customers need assistance on floor 1.
As we can see, well, we did get an enemy spawn.
Bing bong.
But it was not what we were expecting. So, if we have a 0 greater than 0, we should spawn an enemy. With the enemy, oh, our behavior tree we did not set correctly. So, debugging. Let's play this again. And as you notice, this is one of the issues using the way we set up the sound. It doesn't automatically mute the sound because we don't have one sound source. We have different sound sources. So as you noticed before, even though I told the sound not to play, it was already in the middle of playing, so it kind of stopped. Okay, so we have this guy. Okay, so he is not constantly looking for the player. That is a bug we're going to run into. But if you noticed, he did spawn here. Enemy behavior tree. So we want to check the enemy behavior tree and see what happened. So let's find our enemy behavior tree. And we need to check. Okay, look, we still have this one wrong. This is still checked for fleeing. And this one's set for... Wait, this is... Oh, enemy... Hello. See, this is another reason why naming things better would have helped. Okay, so let's try this again. But I am actually using the check for fleeing here, it looks like. This one is the check for attacking task. And this one is the check for fleeing service, which I should not be using. So we need to add a service. Add service, here we go. Check for attacking service. Let's get rid of our check for fleeing service. So that's actually what we want. Our target object is set to our target. Target location is set to our location. Okay, so this one should run this code. Check to see if we should be attacking. This is one of those instances where copy and pasting is kind of biting us in the butt. Mainly because we don't have everything set up. Okay, so now we have a check for attacking service. Let's try this again. One of the things that might be smart would be to cut out this 15 seconds of intro downtime while you're debugging, or set it up where you can actually test the AI inside your test level. We didn't do that, unfortunately, but that would have been smarter.
Customers need assistance.
Okay, so we have him not attacking me, and he's just standing there. So we still have someone fleeing, which we should not. And we do not have our guy properly checking for our attack service. So let me go ahead and drag this off and watch my enemy behavior. And then see where he gets stuck. I also don't know why we don't have everyone attacking like we should. But that's what we will figure out.
Bing bong.
So let's see.
Bing
So I'm
bong.
looking at my enemy AI. And he is literally doing nothing. He is sitting here stuck on our
Bing bong.
enemy
Bing
AI
bong.
controller.
Customers need assistance on floor 2.
Enemy AI controller. See? Oh no.
Bing
Did
bong. Bing bong.
No, never mind. He's still in here. I have a couple enemies set up that should be going through. So let me go through my enemy blue. Here we go. This is what it should be looking like. We should start here, then it should run through these things, and as you can see here, it's fleeing. Now the other one we created, as you can see, is stuck.
Bing bong.
So there is an
Bing
issue
bong.
on what's happening here. It should be running here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down here you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have no one set up to do anything. There we go. So for some reason, our enemies, these are getting stuck. So let's see if we can figure out why.
Customers need assistance on floor 3.
So our biggest issue is our is attacking is not getting set properly. Check for attacking service. Let's compare to the other one. This is all yay for debugging. And of course, I hate when stuff is going to be really simple. So comparing the two, this is wrong. Okay, so this is pretty simple. It looks like what I did inside of our check for attacking service is when I created my new attacking variable, I didn't set it to be public. Because it's not public, inside of our behavior tree, I could not set it to our proper variable. So now if we run, and we check again, let's see what happens. Obviously we have to wait for the sound, and that's super annoying, and that going to add time and iteration time. So adding in ways to debug would be something I would recommend. Okay, so there we go. Look at that. Our AI controller is actually doing something. So let's see what's happening here in theory. Well, we have a red guy and a regular guy. A red guy's running that way. And player is died. But our blue behavior tree was running properly. So I think we have a bad target set. Okay, so this is going to be our target object and target location. We are going to our actor. We are supposed to be doing a simple move, and then when the player gets there, player was attacked, which is where we're getting our player has died. Okay, so one of the issues we have here is in our check for attacking service here. Not our check for attacking service. I think this is it. Okay. We are not constantly updating where we should be going to find our player. This is going to be the issue. Inside of our service for the movement, we should be finding the player's position and setting that as the target. As soon as this stops, here we go. Okay. And that is going to be inside of our service itself. So if we were to go into here, where's our service? Which is going to be our attack task. Nope, that's our task for attacking. We need the check for attacking service. Here we go. This is going to get run, and this is going to get our character and get his location. This should be running properly. Okay, why is this not working? Oh, great. Okay, so let's see. Let me do a couple seconds of research, and I will be right back. Okay, and we are back. Sorry about that. And I spent about 10 minutes debugging, trying to figure out what was going on using print strings. And I kind of figured it out once I started walking through it like you should, and realized I was a dummy. So, in our attacking service, remember we copy-pasted, and then I had to change out the fleeing for attacking. When I went ahead and put in this new one here, I forgot to change our target location and object to the target location and object variables. So they were set to their defaults, and they were actually both set as is attacking. Because of that, we had no valid location to get to. And we had no valid actor to get to, therefore it failed miserably. So let's go ahead and replay this back up. We're going to find that it does work again. We actually have the AI attacking the player. I don't know why it's only spawning one. I have not figured that one out yet, but I'll show you one of the issues we're going to run into that we're going to have to fix quickly. So let's get it to spawn. We should have this one attacking us. And if you notice, as we move, it's going to follow us. Now, one issue we're going to run into is the default player speed for this player 1 is definitely slower than the speed of our player. Now, in theory, we should have this other one run down with us as well. We should have 2 people chasing us. And actually, it looks like 1 out of every wave is spawning in as an enemy, and the other ones are trying to flee. Now, if they touch us, we get our player died message like we wanted. But of course, you know, nothing's happening. And I can't run them over because we've set up damage. So let's go ahead and quickly fix that. Let's have it where the game will end when they touch us, and actually just if we have it where the game ends when they touch us, then we should be okay. Now we're gonna have to give them a little bit more speed. So actually let's go to our player, and we're gonna go to his character movement, and we're gonna check his max walking speed, which is in here somewhere, which I always never find. Let's move this over. Here we go. 2,000 is our current character's walk speed. So let's go ahead and edit our player enemy. And let's give him a faster walking speed, max walk speed. Let's give him a 2,400. That should look really funny, but why not? We want him to be deadly. Okay. Now we still need him to take damage when he is being shot, but we don't want him to take damage from the blade itself. So how can we handle that? Well, I'm thinking damage type may be the most appropriate way of doing that. So in our character itself or controller, let's see which one handles it. Attack button press, attack target, attacking. The character is attacking. We can go ahead and move this out here. So attack. Here we go. Did we bump into something right here? Does implement interface damageable. Here we go. It applies point damage. So let's change this damage type. You know, environmental is actually kind of cool. Let's make some damage types. Okay. Folder DT. And we'll go ahead and add a damage type, which of course I have no friggin' clue where they hide damage types at. Oh, it's just a blueprint, and I'm pretty sure it's in here. Damage type, there we go. We'll make a new damage type, and we'll call this one Laser DT. Of course, spelling it Laser DT. And then we'll make another damage type, and we'll call this one Blade DT. Now, in theory, we don't need to change much. We just keep these as is with the different types. We're going to use them for reference, and when this is the player bumping into something, we're going to have it do the blade damage type. And inside of our enemy character, what we can do is we can check when they took damage. We'll check the damage type, and we'll see if it equals. Whoops, no, that's not it. Let's see, damage type reference. I don't really use damage type, so let's try that. There we go. Let's try casting it to the blade damage type. And we'll do an if check. And if it is a blade, well, actually, we'll do, So, if it is a blade damage type, it's going to be successful, and if it's not a blade damage type, it's going to fail. So if it is a blade, we're going to ignore it. So we're going to do cast failed. We're going to do this. So in theory, what we've done is we've determined if there is a damage type. If the damage type is blade, nothing will happen because we don't want our enemy to die from the blade. If it's not the blade, then they should still take damage. So let's see what happens. And I went ahead and tabbed out of the screen, so that may have looked weird for a second. Let's get our player to spawn and run at us.
Bing bong. Customers.
There we go. They bounce off of us, but if you notice, I should not be able to damage them. And that's fine, because when they hit us, we're immediately going to stop the game. And we're going to, actually, I'm thinking when they hit us, we'll just immediately pause the game, and we'll put a game over screen, and then we will go ahead and end it. And if you notice, they are extremely fast. Okay, we might need to tone them down a little bit. But we can shoot them. So we can shoot them. Wow, look at them run. Okay, so there we go. So we can shoot them, but we cannot destroy them with the blade. So that's what we want. Let's go ahead and turn that enemy down just a little bit. We had it. I'm at 2. Let's call 2150 so they can't outrun us. Okay, so there we go. So that works. So now they can't do that. So inside of our... Now we've got it set up where The player can shoot it. The player can't destroy it with the blade. The enemies will seek out the player. We're still not spawning the correct amount for some reason. I'll deal with that in a second. And it should pass along to our game state what happens when the player is attacked. And as you notice, this is at the point where you're like the last minute for the game jam and you're trying to shove stuff in and stuff starts breaking. I would not recommend doing this. If you're in a game jam, try to leave the last day for actual debugging, testing. Do not throw in extra features at the last minute. I've broken games that way and made them unplayable. So let's do this now. Let's pause the game. And let's delay for 5 seconds. Oops, delay. Oh, that would be nice. If you could actually type delay 5 and it would do a delay node with 5 seconds. I'll see if that's doable. So delay for 5 seconds. And then we do game over, right? I think it's game over, handle game over. So we'll do that. Okay, and let's see if we can figure out why we're not getting multiple enemies. So we will throw up our spawner. Not our spawn manager, our spawner. And I'm going to throw this on my other screen, and I'm going to run a debug through the random integer while we're spawning. Because we should get every single one. Yeah, every single time. Okay, well, let's just run this through and figure out why we're not getting an enemy of the behavior type every single time. So anyways, I've got that on the screen. We're going to play through the beginning. It's going to pause while my debugger pops up. Actually, since we're going to pause, I'll throw the debugger here. We can all debug together. We'll see if we can figure that out. We'll see if we can get an ending to work as well. So we should get a spawn.
Bing bong.
We're going to get a guaranteed
Bing
one
bong.
enemy in here. No, see? Wow. Well, there's a pause. And okay, our game paused, but handle game over did not function, did it? Okay, let's figure out what is going here. Oh, I was looking at a different spawner too, so that really didn't help. Crap. Oh, this is always fun when you're playing with the different spawners. Okay, you know what? So now we try the second way of debugging. Debug the number, print string debugging. Oh crap, it looks like this one's gonna go over an hour, and I do apologize for that, but this is the last thing we have left, and this is actually showing the frustration you will run into when you try to implement things at the last minute and you're rushing and nothing works right.
Bing bong.
Okay, so 5. A random. Oh, okay, it only called it once. Okay, spawn AI from class. Wait between spawns. Completed. Survivor spawns. Oh, okay. See, so there's our problem. That was silly. We are calling this function once, and we should actually be going back to our branch from here. Okay. So that was extremely silly. Because remember, we can't do a delay inside of a function, and having a delay kind of works really weird. So what we're doing is we're just looping back and spawning, and that is an issue because let's do this. This should not be plugged into here. This one should be plugged into, whoop, stop it, right here, our branch, like that. And what this will do, there we go. That's still looking ugly, but it's gonna work. Okay, so now after it goes ahead and it spawns, if it still needs to spawn another one, it's gonna go ahead and, yay for arrows, it's gonna go ahead and go back to our branch, pick another random integer in our range, and then spawn appropriately. So this time, we should now get 2 enemies that attack the player. I still don't know why the game's pausing. Actually, let's see if we can debug that. No point in going through this again. So we set the game to pause. Oh, well, there we go. We're setting the game to pause, and then we are trying to delay 5 seconds, which doesn't work because we're pausing the game. So we're going to do this really quick and simple. remember, we're in a rush. We're trying to get this stuff done. We're going to do a new user interface. Widget blueprint. We'll do game over. We already did a game over screen. You lose screen. Pull it open. We are going to slap an image. Make it full screen. So we set no offset, no size. We're going to color it black. And then we're going to take some text. And what do we want to do this? You failed to service the irate customer. There we go. Slap this in the middle. Let's give this the light version of the font. Set it to size to content. Way too big. Anchor it to the middle. We want no offset. We want no size because we're going to size the content. Our alignment is 0.5, 0.5, so it's in the middle. And there we go. You failed to service the irate customer. Okay, so that should work. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to, player was attacked. We're going to create a widget. The you lose screen. We'll go and add that to the viewport. And we'll delay for 5 seconds, then we'll handle game over. Now the smart thing to do would be to remove the widget. So we'll go ahead and remove from parent. This is actually going to go right here. We'll drag this down this way. There we go. Oops. Okay, so quick and dirty way, but it should throw you lose on the screen. Nothing happens for 5 seconds. The player can still move and do stuff like that, but we're not too worried about it. This is a quick and dirty way. We could remove the input if we wanted to. Delay for 5 seconds, remove from the parent, handle game over. Okay, so let's see what happens this time. So we should have our intro working fine, which we added in. We should have less waves on the last one. We should have now button seeking enemies at all times. We'll adjust that appropriately, but we should have enemy seeking. Button seeking. There we go. You failed to service the irate customer, and then it should go to game over.
Bing bong.
Which
Bing bong.
it did not. So add to viewport, delay 5 seconds, remove from parent, and then handle the game over. And handling the game over is in our event graph, which is right here. So this should check for, okay, see, we're gonna have an issue here because we have survivors that are alive. Oh crap. So what we need to do is, you know what, we will just force a game over here. This is, again, last minute, making stuff work. We don't care if there's any survivors alive when we do this. This is 8:15 at night. We're doing something stupid. Deadline is 9 o'clock. Okay, disable input, create game over screen, add to viewport, set it to the interface, let the player start over. This is really weird looking right there. Okay. And let's try that. There we go. Okay. I think our player enemy speeds might be a bit too high. This is why you really don't want to do changes at the last minute. Having too many waves, giving yourself enough time to test your balance, giving yourself enough time to see if there's any weird stuff that happens. You really don't want to leave those to the last minute. Okay, failed to serve. Should have a debug pop up. There we go. So this should, we'll resume, and it's still not removing it. You failed to service the irate customer. Oh, there we go. Okay. Why did that? Whoa, that was, so this is not being removed from the parent. Our you lose screen. Well, then screw it. Let's see. Promote to local variable. Move this stuff over. This was not what I wanted to do, but it's gonna work. Let's see. You lose screen. And hopefully, if anybody is watching this and they are an actual professional programmer and they are banging their head against their desks, wondering why this stupid stuff is being done, hopefully they understand it's being done due to the fact that we are basically treating this like a game jam, and you do stupid stuff. Wow, I put a colon in there. And you end up doing stupid stuff when you're doing things like this. Okay, so you lose screen, added it, saved it, added to the viewport, delayed, removed the you lose screen from the widget, disables input. Okay, so let's try this again. Anyways, oh yeah, hopefully if you're a professional game dev and you're seeing this stuff, you are like, this is the most ridiculous stuff that you're doing. Why aren't you doing it like this? And hopefully that is what you're doing, because that is the point. This is the stupid crap we have to do when you're on a time limit,
Customers need assistance.
which is why I tried to get this one done in an hour. And of course, like normal, yeah, see, you failed to, oh, you know what?
Bing bong.
Okay, so what is happening, and this is really funny, is this event is being called over and over and over because we haven't stopped our spawners. We haven't stopped our players that are the enemies that are attacking our player. We've done nothing but cause mass chaos. So all of this that we put in here, we actually don't need, because game over. The only reason we put that in there is because it wasn't working, and it wasn't working because we didn't properly handle it, and it's not going to work properly till we handle it. So let's fix that. So the issue we're running into is we have people still in the game and we have our spawner spawning. So what we need to do is we need to destroy all of our people that have spawned, and we need to kill our spawners from spawning. So where is our spawner? Our spawner blueprint, our spawn manager, needs to have a way to stop spawning. And when we start it up, we are calling start spawning. Start spawning destroys our text, sets the spawn way function, and then sets our handle. So what we need a way is we have a start spawning. Let's find does our spawn manager have a blueprint interface? It does not, so that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom event called stop spawning. And this one's really simple. We have our timer handle and we clear it. This should stop our loop that we have created, and it should stop spawning anything that is currently spawning. Okay, so inside of our spawners themselves, this is set up right here. This will continue to spawn. Did we spawn the customers? And this is only set to turn on should we be spawning right here. So what we want to do is, well, if we tell the spawner to stop, then it should no longer call any spawners. So if we destroy everybody that's alive and we stop the spawners, then it should, in theory, take care of our issues. So let's go ahead, and we'll stop spawning. So in our game state, when the player was attacked, do we have a reference to our spawner is a good question. And it does not look like we do. So get all actors of class. And find our spawn manager. And then we'll get the first one. And then we will cast the spawn manager. And then we are going to, well, we know that's going to work, so we'll convert that. And then we are going to stop spawning. Okay. So what this should do now is, oh man, those things are off by one. Okay, so what this should do now is we should go ahead and we should stop the spawning event once we started spawning. Okay. Warning. Items spawn man. Of course. Really? Okay. Well, then never mind. Then we'll just do that. Yep. Sometimes it's nice enough to give us the right one. Okay. So now the issue we're going to have is we still have stuff that is spawned. So after we add this to the viewport so it doesn't look weird, what we'll do is we'll get all actors of class, and this is one of the reasons why subclassing is nice, and we'll get all the enemy character ones. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get, and then let's see if for each works. It can't hurt to see if it works ugly. I don't think you're supposed to do a for each loop and edit, but why not? What's the worst that's going to happen? It won't work. We'll do it a different way. So for each of these, we're going to destroy actor, and that's it. We're just simply going to destroy. And then once it's done, we're going to go ahead and do our 5-second delay and remove from the parent and handle game over. Okay, let's see what happens. So what we did is tried to figure out a way to hack in a lose condition because we didn't take that into account when we were playing and designing the game. If we had designed the game properly, we would have taken that into account and everything would have worked properly. Failed to service, and there's our game over screen. And if we check our map in game, we should find our character, our controller, our game mode, and we should find no enemies alive in here at all, which is exactly what we wanted. Okay, so let's go back to our game preview, and we have our end. We should click to restart. The game should restart. You always want to make sure you test, even though it seems like we started fine. In the map should have reloaded completely. We weren't saving any transient information between loads. We should be at a clean state. But it's worth the 20 seconds to have it restart the map and make sure we die again. There we go. Failed to service. Player should be gone. Our game over screen should pop up, and quit should work, and there we go. Okay, we are good to go. Our hacky McHackerson worked. We can go and clean this up a little bit down here. And that should be it. Let's see if we can check that off our list. Enemies that can kill the player, check. Enemy type, possibly make all of them like that. Adjust the material, we did not do that. Okay. Now we do have one small bug that this is why you want to test. You really don't want to launch the game in this condition where your spawner will always spawn a bad guy. We want to make sure it is still back to our non-test condition. This is an example of something maybe you wanted to have a debug boolean in your game state or your game instance, and you basically had a branch and it would debug, and if you had debug turned on, it would go ahead and run one way, and debug turned off would run another. But here we go. So a random integer, actually, you know what, let's make it I like 3. So since we're doing, that was a 4. Since we're doing this in equal, it really won't matter. So if our random integer is a 3, we're going to get an enemy. If not, we're going to get a good guy, and it will repeat. And our comment node. Okay, I'm going to clean up the comment node. Okay, it's starting to frustrate me. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm going to go and clean up all the code for the source and add in more comments. But our goals over the last 2 videos, which the last one ran longer, unfortunately, but that's how it works. Again, try not to add in new features at the end. This will happen more often than not. So we added less waves at the end. We went ahead and removed 3 of them. We added the toggle to the options for the sound. We added music and a toggle for that. We added in a little sound clip in the beginning to let the player know it's not an endless game. And we added in enemies that can kill the player. It is not balanced. I think those ones are still too fast, to be honest. I think maybe we should allow you to outrun them, maybe drop the enemy down to 1850, 1900, but that's a gameplay balance thing. They should have had better textures. So, for example, they could have been flashing. They could have been a little bit bigger, maybe. I mean, there should have been more indicators, but I hacked this in at the last minute, which was stupid, and we got it done, which counts. So I'm going to comment the code. Hopefully you did learn something over the last 2 videos, or at least you saw how crazy and stupid programming can be when you're doing stuff stupidly and crazily at the last minute. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. I will probably be continuing these next month with the next game jam. If I can work it out, it is going to be a holiday for the next weekend. But I'm also going to iterate over them better and save different variations as we go along, so that way it is a better learning process. So again, have a good day.